Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and I am here at half-time at Easter Road. It is Hibs 0, Celtic 1. We have gone in at the break with that early penalty kick, but have you been happy with the overall performance? Stephen Sloan, I'm going to bring you straight in to the conversation. Not once has Kuhn took his man on or tried to run down the line. He just keeps passing it back to the player that passes to him. I think Kuhn is getting a crash course in what it means to be a Celtic winger, in the fact that he needs to defend, he needs to go searching for the ball sometimes deep. Ian Conroy is going to be joining me again from New Zealand. There he is. And we are winning 1-0, Ian, but there's a lot of unhappy Acsom commenters in the comment section. I think that, to get the lead so early on was great. Let's focus on a positive. Obviously, we've got another defender injured in Alistair Johnston. That's the second time he's taken a dull one at Easter Road this season. But what you wanted to see at that point is you wanted to see somebody stepping up. We have been absolutely dreadful with penalties this season, and it's Ida. Ida steps up, he wants to take it, he takes it well, and we're ahead. So let's start with a positive. The first start for a big man, and he scores a goal. He's put us ahead. We've got to look at the positive there, haven't we?
Yeah, it was brave to take the responsibility on. I was worried what his kind of run-up was going to be like, whether it was going to be one of these two-footed ones or whatever, and it's all these elaborate little moves and all that stuff. So the practice, I don't know. But yeah, it was good. It was good. He manfully stepped up. Good penalty. I think he's had some good touches. He's been a bright spark really in the game, in flashes. I still would have liked to have seen. I'm not trying to go back to the negative stuff, but it's like I still would like to have seen Kyogo and him start up top together. He's isolated. He can be as good as he might be, or potentially can be. He's still isolated. That one striker up front is an isolating, lonely old place at times. Especially the laboured, languid way we're playing. We're allowing Hibs to get back into shape too often. There's been a couple of flashes where we've dinked it about quite a bit, but there's no end product. And about 10 minutes before the end of the game, there, Bernabe, we were down the left, and Bernabe was guilty of a sort of breaking down. If it wasn't him, it would have been Maeda. I think Maeda's decision making's been typical, So yeah, but Ida pass marks for me so far.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the bravery. It's the fact that, it gets us off to that flyer. I had, at the beginning of the week, started off by saying we're going to win 3-0 tonight. I then saw the team, changed my opinion to 3-2 because I think there's been enough to suggest in that first half, Ian, that we're still not strong enough defensively. I mean, the Hibs chance that was eventually ricocheted over the bar because, Scales got his body in front of him. But, we were the architects of that. We shouldn't be allowing, Kuhn should not be allowing the cross to come in. That's what I was saying at the top of the show there. If you're a Celtic winger, that's part of your job. You've got to do that defensive element. Don't let the boy cross the ball in. We don't defend it well enough. Scales is guilty in the first instance. Then, it gets to the point where you've got Bernabe at the back post. He doesn't defend it. And then when Hibs get the break of that, it could go in. It could be one each. And we're having a different discussion here. Scales has put his body on the line. Fair play to him. And it goes over for a corner kick. But it's another reminder that defensively we're very, very weak. I think, I'm not just going to spend the 15 minutes having a go at Bernabe, but again, completely out of position time and time again. If Hibs did to us what Aberdeen did at the weekend and break away, he's made the same mistake 2 or 3 times there. And his passing's not good enough. There was 2 occasions. He's had one good cross in the first half. One good cross. There was 2 occasions back-to-back where his crossing was just basically a hopeful dink into the box. Get it in there and hopefully somebody wins it. And we didn't win it. Everything's coming down our left. We're not getting enough down the right from Kuhn. If that was Mikey Johnson playing in the Kuhn position, we'd all be criticising him, saying that he's a man down, etc., etc. We give the new signing a wee bit more time, obviously, to settle in. But yeah, it's been a very poor first half. And I think when you see some of the comments coming in, just to try and get a sense of how the Celtic fans are feeling at half-time. There's 1,500 plus watching the half-time bulletin here as Celtic lead Hibs by 1-0. And I think one of the biggest issues is we're winning, Ian, but we've seen it before whereby you know, a team can come out in the second half at us, and we're not good enough at defending, and that's the big concern. Franny for round the corner. What an absolute snooze fest that first half was, says Franny. You and Boy Martin, we ain't winning the league. We are so poor, creating nothing well so weak in defence. I mean, I pointed out the defence here. We've signed 11 players, Ian, this season, and our defence at the moment is Ralston, Bernabe, Scales, and Welsh. Now, of the players that were brought in, there has been defensive players brought in, and you know, again, it's a sad indictment of the transfer windows that Brendan Rodgers doesn't think any of the defenders that have come in are good enough. I had a wee deep dive on the old transfer business that Celtic have done over a period, not just this season, and we have spent some amount of money on players that have not made an impression at Celtic. I think the figure was 56 million, not including all the loan fees, Ian. And you can add another probably 7.5 million to that right now, because Nawrocki and Lagerbielke are not deemed good enough to start a game of football for Celtic this week. So I think that's a big concern. We'll come back to it, I'm sure, after the game. What do we do in the second half, Ian, to make sure that we don't allow the rot to set in, the sideways passing, the lack of intensity, the lack of a cutting edge doesn't come back to bite us?
I'd get Kyogo on and have the two up front and try and be more positive, you know. It's almost like, again, what can you do? You know, we seem like we haven't got any ideas, you know, and it's like, you know, the lack of discipline from Bernabe. It's a hole in the boat that we have to keep plugging, you know, and it's knocking the whole team out of balance and out of shape. It reminds me of when Strachan was on about Gravison, and it was like, how many times can you keep telling one player?
Yeah. No,
you know, he was a maverick. He used to go rogue every time he played, you know, and I thought he was a good player, you know, came from Real Madrid, but Strachan just couldn't deal with it, you know, and Bernabe's the same. He just keeps going rogue. And I saw, you know, just before half time there, Scales had a simple pass to Bernabe, and he didn't. He changed, and you know, he did a turn and went the opposite way because he just clearly doesn't trust him.
No.
So I'd get him off, I'd put Scott Bain at left back, honestly.
Didn't Barkas say that he preferred playing left back? What's he up to these days? I think Bernabe is an issue. He definitely is an issue, because if your own players have no confidence in you know, retaining possession by passing the ball on to Bernabe, then I think it speaks volumes, Ian. You brought up Gravison. I think it's a very good comparison. Completely different player, different position. Strachan couldn't trust him. That's the point. He couldn't trust him to go out and actually play to a game plan and stick to a shape. Now, as I say, there was a couple of occasions I was looking at Bernabe thinking, if Hibs break away, we're in trouble here. And it's repeating the same mistakes again and again. That's an indiscipline. This is the type of thing I was talking about with Palmer. It's an indiscipline, and if you've got two guys, I think the saving grace is Maeda's playing on the left-hand side, Ian. Although he's not a great game, he does give you that cover defensively. And if you were to bring on Kyogo, I can't see Brendan doing it at half-time, because it's almost an admission of guilt, isn't it? I've got it wrong. I'll change it at half-time. A lot of managers don't like doing that. He'll come away, you know, at full-time if we get a result, and he'll just say that, you know, that it went to plan. If Kyogo comes in and we change the shape, like we did against Aberdeen, again, we're too overcautious to even do that, Ian. It seems like a simple change, but because we're not chasing the game as such, we're a goal ahead, Brendan Rodgers won't do it, will he? He'll stick to the same shape, and we'll watch the same thing panning out for the next 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, it's egotistical, you know. It's best for the team. It's best for projects. It's best for, you know, whatever walk of life you're in. You've got to be, you know, any great manager, any great leader has to be able to have the humility and you know, and be magnanimous when if he's getting things wrong, to change things, you know. You know, you can't just do it by committee, and you know, but listen to the fans. You know, I think there's a massive groundswell for us all sort of saying we'd like to see the two up top, you know, and a change of shape. So, but yeah, it's silly waiting to sort of chase a game. You know, if I can see Hibs equalising, and if they do, then we are, you know, we're essentially chasing the game again. You know, we're under pressure to try and win, and that's no. Let's try and start blowing teams away early. You know, first half an hour. That's what we should be doing. You know, and it's probing. It's just so predictable. You know, if we keep saying the same thing every game, we can just clip. What we might as well do is just clip one of these episodes and play it in perpetuity, because I'm sure we're saying the same things next week and the week after and the week after.
It's getting that way. Someone has mentioned here. It's here we go. Joe Fulham. We're stuck in Groundhog Day. Bye league. Joe, you know, I am an optimistic person. Believe it or not, Ian, I am an optimist, right? And I'm watching it, and I can see where Joe's coming from, because you do get the sense that it's just you want to try and get a momentum to take you through the second part of the season. We were talking about winning 14 games. Listen, if we win 14 games, 1-0, and it's as drab as that is just now, great. I'm going to be happy. Let's have a bit of a facelift in the summer transfer window. Whether or not Brendan Rodgers is the guy behind that, I'm not too sure what's going on there. Mount Kadath, your eyes are still bleeding. Hopefully, I mean, what changes do you make? I guess if you're going to stick rigidly to the shape, which I think Brendan will, then you can't make a change at left back, because we've no one else who can come in. You've obviously got the option, I guess, to move either Welsh to right back, because he can play there, Ralston out of position at left back, Scales at left back, bring on one of the central defenders, bring on Nawrocki. There is an opportunity there, because I just feel that Hibs have broken away a couple of times there, and you know, I think that they are capable of breaking through and scoring the equaliser here. It comes down for me to the physicality down that left-hand side, and Benaby simply does not have it. Mark Caplo Mark, not going to sugarcoat it, complete garbage. Not one chance created, walking pace unpredictable. And by the way, if I disagreed with all these comments, I would say so. I would say, no, I think we're playing brilliant and all the rest of it. I don't disagree with the comments that are coming through. Mickey Boy 80, I've yet to enjoy watching Celtic this season. Now, that is something we were talking about earlier today. Ian, yes, you want to win the league. You want to win games. And I think that there's been occasions in the past when a manager's came to Celtic and they've put such an onus on the style and the philosophy behind that style. And the two managers, in fact, there's three managers who did that, if we think back. John Barnes came in and it was all chat, and it was a philosophy and a shape, and he was going to do this, and he was going to play football a certain way. Tony Mowbray did exactly the same. He spoke about a football utopia. And then Ronnie Dyler did as well. And although Dyler kept the 9 in a row charge going for those 2 seasons, what the three managers tried to put the onus on was a style of football. Whereas when you're at Celtic, winning is the most important thing. Of course it is. If we beat Aberdeen at the weekend and it was a display like we've had tonight, it's still a win. You take it, right? You move on. And at the end of the season, a lot of these wins that you scrape, you forget that the performance wasn't great. But with Brendan Rodgers, it's not like he's a rookie manager. You know, he's been round the houses. He's managed Celtic before. He knows the expectations here. He was speaking about it at the pre-match press conference, talking about he knows what he got himself in for, and he did. And I think that's one of the disappointments here. It's not as though he's come to the club to manage Celtic for the first time or in his first managerial tenure, and he doesn't know the gravity of this job. And he also knows that once you start getting the winning mentality, then entertainment and style is part of the contract at Celtic, isn't it?
He made that point in his press conference about, there's not many teams in Europe that would get 6 points out of 9, and it's a crisis.
Yeah.
But he didn't supply the correct context to accompany that statement, which was that he's the league that we had, what was it, 11-point league we had, has been chipped away at. And the brand of football that those 6 points out of 9 points produced, and the fact that at Celtic, actually the expectation is that you win every game. I know it's not possible, but in a 2-horse race, the amount of resources that we have, we should be blowing teams away, and we should be doing that. So it's like Pep Guardiola, is probably going to become the most successful manager in history. He's earned the right to be at these esteemed clubs and have the budgets that he's got to buy the best players. So when you're at Celtic, you've earned the right, in a smaller scale, and that sort of Guardiola type thing. You've earned the right to be at the pinnacle of the club in that league. So that's kind of my view. Yeah,
you're right, and I think at this stage, halfway through a season where there's been plenty of tinkering with the squad, you should have an idea of the team that you can put out there to win a game at Easter Road. By the way, if we win 1-0, Rodgers will be delighted because he's never won at Easter Road. And it means that we continue to look down on our challengers, albeit only by the 3 points, having played a game more. And yeah, Lord Flashheart, let's not forget, let's hope that AG's okay. He's away to hospital to probably get a scan, make sure he's all right. You never want to see that on the football park, stretchered off. Tony Ralston, for me, is an able deputy. Let's go back to the action then. Thanks everybody for getting involved. Really, really busy in the pre-match and at half-time. And hopefully at full-time we are talking about a Celtic victory. Thanks every single one of you for tuning in. Enjoy the second half. And please join us at full-time for a Celtic State of Mind with myself and Ian Conroy.